on. What a fucking sound. I don't know what's going on in here. Went through like an acoustical wormhole. Listen, when I got the request for this game right here, from Ryan Reinbold, by the way. Ryan Reinbold requested this game. Tremendous supporter of the show. Ryan is. So when he requested this game, I was furious. There's no other way to put it. I was furious because I grew up with this game and I know exactly. Listen, let me introduce the game right here. It's Crystalis. Yeah. Not Crystalis. Oh my God! So many of these YouTubers. I'd like to stuff some of these YouTubers down a drainage ditch. It's Crystalis. SNK Super Classic. All right, the SNK Super Classic that flies right under the radar. Let's talk about the box art first of all. Young man, swashbuckler, out in the middle of this maelstrom of monsters. I mean, the artwork on this is like, it's incredible. I mean, you got this kid here with the hair. He's got the hair going, and the eyebrows, and the eyebrow, I should say. Wow, look at that eyebrow. I need a little light. I'm getting old, man. What do I need? Beta carotene? My vision's going. Here we go. But you got this kid. I think this is what they did. They have him surrounded by monsters. One of them's got it hits you on so many instinctive levels. One of them's got the big teeth. One of them's a big eyeball with legs like a spider. One of them's like a furry werewolf. There you go. Teeth, eyes, and fur. It's horrifying. No, but it's gorgeous artwork. And I always loved the logo for Crystalis. I always loved the logo for Crystalis. Oh, I almost... Slow it down. And Crystalis, I mean, look at that font. I love it. It looks great on screen, by the way, when you first turn on the game. This was one of those games. Everybody, I think, had this game that would make them go into isolation. And that was Crystalis for Phil. And Crystalis was a summertime game. You know how sometimes games are seasonal? Like Castlevania was always a wintertime game for me. Mega Man 2 was a fall game. Like beginning of the school season game. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Summertime game. And then I remember this game right here. Okay. Ghostbusters on the Commodore 64, wintertime game. Yeah. Rambo, Commodore 64, wintertime. You get it. So anytime you hear that music from a particular game, it brings you to a season. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Crystalis, summertime game. The summer that Phil disappeared. Well, not the summer, but, we lost Phil for a week. We all had that game. I had that game. That was Vastille. Vastille, admittedly not a great game.
We must break through this barrier if we are to secure the no-born belt.
That is correct. Unfortunately, right now our troops are totally exhausted. It doesn't appear they can take no-born.
What?
But with great potential. It could have been a super game. Oh, yeah. It had the foundation for greatness. I let a lot of its gameplay slide. A lot of its, great game. Charlie, we lost Charlie to Panzer General for the 3DO. Yeah, where's Charlie? Hey, you guys want to go out? You want to drink? You want to, get a pack of smokes? No, yeah, I'll be playing Panzer General. It was like, Phil, hey, Phil, it's a beautiful day. You want to go outside and hit the neighbor's shed with a bat? That's what we used to do. Listen, we had a paper route, and if you didn't tip, You were like public. I don't know how we had any subscriptions. We were like the mafia. Phil, in his backyard, lived across from a guy who didn't tip us. And he had his metal shed right up against Phil's fence. And what we would do is we'd get home from school. The guy wouldn't... We'd go out collecting on a Friday night. The guy wouldn't tip us. So I was like, all right, you don't want a tip? We'd wait for the guy to go... We'd get home from school. The guy was at work. We'd hit the back of his shed with a wooden bat. We'd bent the back of the shed like a banana. It looked like a truck crashed into the shed, I swear to Christ. But the guy couldn't see it from the front. The only way he could see it is going in. He must have went inside and been like, what, Jesus Christ, what happened here? And the noise it would make. You know, because it was like a sheet metal shed. And we would just start, we'd take out all of our adolescent aggressions on it. You know, it's either that or, hey, Phil, you want to go out in your garage? We used to go out in his garage and try to make a bomb. And we'd be lighting it in the garage. It's horrifying to be a parent now and knowing what my son's going to do when he's like 14, 15, 16 years old. It's horrifying to think about. We just used to start fires or pour chemicals into the pool to see what would happen. You have no idea how harebrained teenagers are. Teenage boys, they're so... All right, well, my main demographic is men, so maybe you do have an idea. Oh my God, sip of coffee for just adolescent debauchery. So here we go. I knew what I was in for. All right, let's start out by saying... doing a little research, I found out that the Famicom version of this game is called God Killer. I mean, can we have anything cool? If they would have brought this game over as God Killer, I don't think they understand what this would have meant. It would have been #1 seller here in America. God Killer. But enough about that. This is a 1990 release action RPG. And what I'm going to tell you is, what were your choices for action RPGs on the NES? Faxanadu, Legend of Zelda. I'm going to put Rygar in there. The Adventures of Link. Yeah. Hydlide. Anybody play Hydlide growing up? I'm sorry we're getting off this review. But anybody play Hydlide? I remember Phil and I rented Hydlide, and it was the first time we ever played a completely broken game. That is a broken game. I mean, listen, when I played Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it was like, okay, you know, this is odd, this is impossible, and, you know, but I never really considered it a broken game. Hydlide was like, the program is just, we're like, you know something, put it out for a release, we're going to IHOP. It was just a complete disaster. I remember Phil and I being so enraged that we wasted our rental money on Hydlide. Anyhow, as far as action RPGs go, what were your selections? You had some good ones, but I tell you right now, the most overlooked one is Crystalis. Nobody talks about it. Okay, and what I want to mention to you is Crystalis came out in 1990, and I was amazed to find out, I had to look it up, that Ys Book 1 and 2 was released in 1990 as well. And these games run on such parallels. Okay, well now, Bithead 1000, what are you talking about? Well, turn the game on, and you start the storyline, and this is the most And this leads me to one of my biggest gripes with the game. The storyline starts. There's like animated cinematics here, a la Ninja Gaiden, a la Ys Book 1 and 2. There's a bit of like animated cinema in the beginning. It's not much. It's not much. You know, dragon's head, excuse me, moving over here. And the story begins. And my first gripe with the game is the introduction music to the story it's the best piece of music in the game. From there, the music kind of tapers off. The thing that would have saved Crystalis is stronger music. And now I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off, because let's face it, Crystalis might have been the game that a lot of people got into RPGs because of Zelda, correct? I think that's fair to say. But this might have been a lot of people's first role-playing game experience. So it's very tender, okay? I understand what I'm dealing with here. You have to be very careful. You got to walk on eggshells when you talk about original Nintendo games here. I think the biggest issue Crystalis has, it's a genius game, but the soundtrack could have been a little better. It's not bad, but it doesn't measure up to the rest of the game. Fair enough? Okay. But the greatest track on the game is that intro music. Oh! It makes you think that the rest of the music in the game is going to be this great. Okay. So here we go. So Ys. Okay. Storyline goes, I guess there's this thermonuclear war that happens that destroys everything in 1997. I thought that was interesting. 1997 thermonuclear war. And if you think about it, it was 1990. They put this game out, so they were programming it in the 80s, because it took a while to do this one, I'm sure. So they're thinking, when's the thermonuclear war going to happen? 97. That's far away. Thermonuclear war happens. The villains from that war stuck you into a cryogenic chamber. I have no idea why. Because you knew magic. So here we are. The world has basically been decimated, pummeled back to the Stone Age. The survivors from the war build a floating tower. Okay, floating tower. It's just like Ys, floating tower in the sky. Yeah. Floating tower. So here we go. We're already starting with the parallels. And now, I don't understand how they built a floating tower after the fucking... This story's a little convoluted. Okay, the world was destroyed by thermonuclear war, all technology taken out. But then some people build a floating tower. Okay. Anyhow, the people up in this floating tower, they kind of like... They watch the whole Earth go to shit because now it's taken overrun by mutants. There's this guy, an emperor that combines the science is eliminated basically. This emperor Dragonia, he figures out how to combine magic with science and becomes the all-powerful emperor. All right, controlling this whole planet now. And then you pop out of this cryogenic chamber. And what's cool about it is here you are, the game starts, and you pop out of this very advanced cryogenic chamber, like computer controlled. There's this whole computer interface when you start the game. It's like, whoa, because the introduction was kind of, fantasy, right? But here you are, modern computer. I was like, wow, that's very interesting. And then you pop out in like this cave, and you're back in this, fantasy medieval kind of place again with monsters. It's been overrun by these mutant monsters. So you pop up in this town, and what cracks me up is when you're in this village, now you have overhead view of yourself, but it's like much like Ys 1 and 2. You pop up in this village, and the very first town has the quintessential like RPG town music. I had to laugh because you know what it is when you get to, it's always that jolly music. Hey, we're in town. We'll go to the inn. We'll take a nap. Hey, we'll go get some herbs at the item shop. Maybe buy some armor from this guy with the mustache. The town. You gotta love the RPG town, right? Everybody's happy. Hey, somebody's gonna say something funny when I talk to them. It's always that rap, right? So there you go. There's the formula. You go to the town, you get weaponized, and here's the thing about Crystalis that kind of pisses me off. From here, you get the initial storyline, and then the story moves very, very. It doesn't move slowly. It's just that I don't think they integrated the story into the gameplay as effectively as they could. I like to get my story on almost like a morphine drip throughout the game. I don't like to play a bunch of the game, then boom, get a whopping part of the story. Play a bunch of the game, boom, get a whopping part of the story. And that kind of happens in Crystalis, okay? So you go out into the overworld, and it's basically, like I said, parallels with Ys. But I will tell you this right now. This has a better attack system, combat system than Ys. Where in Ys you ran around just bumping into people. In Crystalis, you run around, you have a sword that's visual. You see the sword come out. And what's interesting about Crystalis is you have a charge shot with your sword. The charge shot. How does this work? So basically you run up to enemies and you can fork them with your sword, almost like in Legend of Zelda. Yes. But remember in Legend of Zelda, when you would have full power or full health, you could actually shoot your sword as a projectile. When I found that out about Legend of Zelda, find it out, you know it right away. But when you have, it's like, I'm going to beat the game. I could shoot my projectile across the screen, but here's the thing. Do you have the patience to sit there and kill enemies with the projectile? So no, you want to run up to them and kill them and get out of there as fast as possible. So your patience is what will kill you in Crystalis. So sure, you can go up to enemies and knife them, but chances are you're going to wind up getting hit. Or you could hang back and use your charge shot, but it's going to take a lot longer. You're going to need a lot more patience. Yeah. So basically, what you want to do in Crystalis, you want to find the 4 sages. The 4 sages give you these 4 swords. You have elemental swords. A wind sword. Yes. Fire sword. Ice sword. And thunder sword. In that order. Oh, yeah. So here's where things get cool. So your sword has this charge shot to it, which, when you have the wind sword, say, like this like sonic wind bolt comes out to kill an enemy. But as you progress through the game, you'll get a stone which upgrades the sword. So then you're able to charge your sword twice. You'll get the initial charge shot, and then you could save up more and then get like a wind blast. A more powerful blast. And this blast will help you break down stone walls. Oh, yeah. And then you upgrade your sword even further do a 3-level charge shot when you get the bracelet for the corresponding sword. Aha. Wow. So doesn't this and then you start to get this idea in your head. Oh, I get a sword, and then I could power it up 3 times. And with each power up, it gives me the ability to do something else. Right. But on the 3rd level, when you get the bracelet and you charge up your wind sword, oh my God, you let out a big volley of like these wind tornadoes across the screen. It's really, really quite something. I mean, the weapons do not disappoint in this game, and there's plenty of them. I mean, think about it. 4 swords. Ultimately, you get the Crystalis sword at the end. But 4 swords that can be powered up 3 times each. I mean, that'll keep your interest. Right. The fire sword can break down certain barriers. So what's going to happen in Crystalis? You're going to go out into the overworld. You're going to go over here. This guy needs this. Can you find me this? You're going to go find that. You got to start this windmill. How do you start the windmill? You'll talk to this guy and bop, 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 bop. It's RPG stuff. Don't you get it? It's RPG stuff. But Crystalis is going to jam-pack you with items, weapons, armor. I mean, there's got to be over a dozen armors. Some of the armors protect you from poison. I love psycho armor. Oh yeah, you get psycho armor. It allows you to charge your health. I mean, the list of shields. I mean, there's a huge list of shields here. I mean, there's just the items. You get herbs, antidotes, fruits that power you up, that recharge your magic points. Bracelets, necklaces, idols, things that allow you to travel across poison fields. I mean, you name it. And then on top of that, there are spells. Spells for healing, spells for protecting you against paralysis and poison, spells for flying. So you can fly over chasms. They use magic points. I think 2 magic points per second. I didn't time it. But that's what it feels like. Then so you can basically fly through the air depending on how much magic you have. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So then you're gonna fight bosses throughout the game. Oh, the fascinating thing about Crystalis here is jam-packed with spells, items, weapons, and enemies. Holy shit. Alright, this is gonna bring me to my other gripe with the game. Your sprite is pink. I get it, we're on a 8-bit Nintendo and they did a lot with this game. And I think they had to make your sprite pink because that way it would contrast with the backgrounds of the game. That way you could see your guy. So in that regard, I'll accept it. To help the player basically see, who's playing. I'll accept it. Very cool. A lot of the backgrounds, caves and stuff like that, they just use different color, stone in different caves. So some of that can get repetitive. But overall, you're gonna be in a nice combat world, nice dungeons, great puzzles to solve. Oh my God, some of them can get monotonous. Jesus Christ, I don't know what I was through halfway through the game, and you had to go see a queen, and then you had to go see a fortune teller, and then you had to go see the queen again, and then you had to go see a fortune teller again, and then you had to go back and forth, and I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. And my son's upstairs like, Dad, I gotta do pee-pee. And the kid knows how to do pee-pee. For some reason, he wants me to pull up his pants. I said, hey, what are we getting into here? So here we go. And then you're going to fight exciting bosses. Okay? And this is the great part. This is the great part about Crystalis. And this is also how it parallels with Ys Book 1 and 2. You'll get to bosses, you'll go through caves, and then you'll ultimately end up at a boss. And the bosses are all very interesting, have very different attack patterns. And, you know, if you die, you can go and you can grind. That's the one thing I love about Crystalis, but I really didn't have the time for. I was flying through this game. Okay? Listen, I don't know. Listen, Ryan, I'm trying to run the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization over here. You understand that? I'm trying to run a hit show. Time is something I don't have. So I was blasting through the game, which was fun. I didn't mind blasting through the game. I was trying to see if I could do it without grinding. And I learned the hard way. No. But I don't mind grinding. Deep down inside, I'm a blue-collar grinder, baby. Grinding to me is fun. And if I really have the time to dedicate to an RPG, I prefer to grind. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't want to go in there and stress out over a boss. I want to grind and prepare and then go in there and fucking annihilate them. That's what makes me feel good in an RPG. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. And then when you get all 4 swords, when you're fully powered up, it's pretty spectacular. To put on the Thunder Sword and then the Thunder Bracelet, and you a fully charged shot from the Thunder Sword is very impressive. I mean, there are thunder strikes. The screen goes black and white, and there are thunder strikes from like all angles. It's like, who can survive it? Who can survive it? The weapons are very exciting. I mean, the ice weapon, when you have the ice sword, you can cross rivers, like by the shallower part of the river. You can freeze the path so you can cross rivers with it. Right. All these weapons will lead you. You find the weapon, and it says, now I can go over here because I have that weapon. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. I mean, yeah, and the ice sword has the blizzard that flies out around you. Oh, which leads me to another gripe in the game. When you're in the dungeon, some enemies can be hit with some swords and can't be hit with other swords. And you'll have a mixture of these enemies in a dungeon. It's infuriating. Because what you'll have to do is I can hit this wyvern with the fire sword, but I can't hit him with the wind sword. So you're constantly cycling weapons, which is sort of annoying. Sort of annoying because you can't really change weapons on the fly. You have to go into the menu system and switch your weapons so you can kill that enemy, and then switch your weapon back to kill the majority of the enemies that you're supposed to be killing in that dungeon with the particular weapon that you're using at the moment. So that was a little frustrating. P.S. The battery backup, the gold sticker battery backup. P.S. The battery backup still works like a fucking champ. Woo! Hats off to the NES for that, because that was going to be a big part of this review. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, if this battery backup doesn't work, we're fucked. I was going to have to leave my little Yobo NES player downstairs plugged in full time. And I got news for you. That transformer gets hot. If this battery backup didn't work, it would have burnt my house down. Oh, yeah. And then I would have been coming for you, Ryan. Yeah, amazing. 1990, let me do the math here. Almost 20 years later, the battery backup still works. Pff, hats off. Hats off to Nintendo for that one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there you have it. Yeah, you get to the end of the game, and I tell you something right now. One of the most fantastic things and one of the most tragic things is that when you finally get the Crystalis sword, it's like you get this Crystalis sword, and it's like you want to air it out a little bit. It's like, let me go out and just start murdering people with this Crystalis sword, because it has the most... You realize when you have the Crystalis swords and you use the power shot, and it's like these... I don't know how to explain it. It's like almost like rainbows come out of it. It's a very impressive sword. And you just want to go out and use it on lower level bad guys. Like, fucking suck on this. But you're pretty much to the end boss by that point. And I believe you're in the flying tower. Are you in the flying tower? No. Because it gets very technical again. It's like then you're fighting robots and stuff like this. This is fantastic. You're back in modern times again. And the end boss doesn't disappoint and disappoints at the same time, because I expected this epic mother brain battle, and it didn't really pan out that way. It was basically you face off against a heart. It's like a heart. I love this concept. It's like this, like almost like metallic, mechanized but organic heart. And almost like it's Mother Brain-esque, let's put it that way, in its seriousness, in its, I mean, let's face it, I mean, you're plugging away. I wish I knew how many hours I put some hours into this game, baby. I should have clocked it. Put some hours into this fucker. But you face off against this mother brain, and you're using the Crystalis sword. It's very exciting, but I got news for you. It's not that difficult. I mean, when you fight the mother brain, you go into a battle, but a battle against this fucking hard Dragonia. I guess this is his main, the heart of everything. This is what's causing all the trouble, right? So it wasn't that hard to take out, which was a little bit disappointing. So, I mean, listen, guys. You want an action adventure RPG on your Nintendo? I mean, second? I put it second only to The Legend of Zelda. And Rygar, because of my bias towards Rygar. But, and second only to Legend of Zelda because the legend that is Legend of Zelda, right? I mean, honestly, if this game would have come out first, who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows, right? Isn't it important to be first? Think about that. Legend of Zelda was basically first. It basically threw that flag in the sand. So a lot of people had their first experience with an RPG with Legend of Zelda. But just think about that. What if Crystalis had come out first? It certainly would have been more well-known and more beloved than it is now. That's for sure. There you go, Ryan. There you go, buddy. All right. Thank you for putting me on the couch, by the way, in the doghouse with my wife. You just tuned into the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization. And you better believe that. With a 4K face! We'll see you next time.